Welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. Let's start off this segment talking about the NFL. The Patriots defeated the Broncos 43-21. After watching that game, I kind of took away that Manning really needs to step up his game and that it came down to a battle of quarterbacks.
I feel as though the Patriots totally outplayed the Broncos in every aspect of the game. They even scored a touchdown on a punt return by Julian Edelman. Both quarterbacks threw the ball over 50 times, but Manning had more yards, but he also had more interceptions. You know, he's not really getting the job done as we're accustomed to being Peyton Manning. Like, he's putting up yards, he's getting touchdowns, but Broncos aren't winning games. They're looking shaky right now. In this rivalry, Brady is 11-5. So, and he's on the road. He's won 2 straight, and including the third of last year in Foxborough. So I feel as though Peyton Manning and the Broncos need to get on track. The defense has been playing okay. Last night was just too much for them to handle.
I mean, this is a game where you have 2 of the top QBs, 2 of the top offenses, 2 of the best records in the AFC. They're both coming up 4-game winning streaks. So this was supposed to be a really exciting game, and I was just so disappointed. I think that the Pats offensively and defensively just dominated completely, so I was not expecting such a blowout.
But then on the Patriots side of things, you had Brady come out and just respect how good the Broncos are and how good Manning is. And so he was talking about how, yeah, they beat them, but they're going to expect to see them again in the future because this team is not going anywhere.
Yeah, I think Brady, he had 4 touchdown passes. He played with poise. He was aggressive. I think he played well under pressure, which was really big. And I don't think that Manning, could compete with how Brady played in that game.
He also had a few huge third down conversions, which I think really changed the game, and getting those advanced them to be able to get this win.
Nicole, one thing you said about Tom Brady, he did play with poise. He did something you usually don't see him do. He was a little more mobile last night and getting out the pocket and getting away from defenders. And he made some throws downfield, and Gronk had a big catch. Those guys are making plays for Brady. And just a few weeks ago, we were talking about, is he done? Now we're talking about, is he the MVP? And another thing about Brady last night was his 200th career start. He's won 155 of them. That's the most by a quarterback ever in NFL history in that span. So I feel like he's getting the job done. He's becoming Tom Brady again, and Patriots are looking like a serious contender.
Yeah, kind of what you said about Gronk with that catch that he had. I would say he's arguably one of the best tight ends in the league. I think he's really that weapon that the Patriots have. So.
He's exactly that. He's a weapon. I mean, look at him physically. He's a beast. That guy is unstoppable. You injure him, he comes back stronger the next season. So he's just going to prove that he is the Gronk.
Now we were talking about quarterbacks, kind of switching gears here. Steelers versus Ravens. Roethlisberger, huge game for him. He has now thrown 6 touchdowns in the past 2 games, making that 12 for the past 2 games as a total, which is a NFL record. And when they played the Ravens this past weekend, he had no interceptions, 1 fumble. I just think that he deserves that. He's really stepped up his game. There are a lot of doubts about him and what he was going to do for the Steelers. Was his career over? Was he going to retire? And I think that he, is really saying to Steelers fans and to everyone out there that I'm here, I want to stay, I'm ready to play.
Big Ben is playing like Big Ben right now. He's doing exactly what the Steelers expected when they hired Todd Haley. They figured those 2 guys will correlate together well and become big. And also, Big Ben, I feel like in my eyes is the MVP right now because I don't think no one's playing better than him right now. He's in the best division in football right now. Every team's over 500. And to do what he did in these past 2 games, that's the most ever. The second best was Tom Flores and Tom Brady. They tied for the second most ever. They had 11. And another thing that I think is getting caught up in the midst of everything, you're not used to seeing this from Pittsburgh. They usually pound you on defense, stop the run, and then they run the ball right down your throat. But last night, the Ravens and the Steelers only combined for 118 yards. That's uncharacteristic of an AFC North game, let alone between the Ravens and the Steelers.
The Ravens also defensively had over 100 penalty yards. And I think that really was a game changer. Not only do you have his quarterback who's doing great things, but you have, a defense on the other side that can't stop them.
Yeah, I think the Ravens defense, they looked good in the first quarter, and then just from there, they fell flat. They went downhill from there. Like you said, the 100 yards of penalties, which I think really hurt them in the long run. They were having a lot of trouble covering the receivers, too, which I think is what really hurt them overall in the game.
And those penalties not only, they just continue to help Roethlisberger even more. He was the definition of calm, cool, and collected last night. There was absolutely no doubt about it. He was getting back, looking at the field ahead of him, finding his receivers, and over the past 2 games, he's had 12 touchdown passes, which is huge.
Going off what you said, Nicole, speed kills. All those receivers are getting open, and Big Ben is finding them. Antonio Brown is only about 5'10". Usually those guys play in the slot. He's playing on the outside, and he's making big-time plays with the catch he had like last night. If these guys continue to do this, I don't see anyone beating them.
Another quarterback, Nick Foles. The Eagles played the Texans. Nick Foles, first quarter, got hit and was out of the game, which they later then found out he had broken his collarbone. When he went out, Sanchez came in and had a huge game. He stepped up majorly for this team, for himself, and I think that he just set a whole new bar, and Eagles fans were blown away.
I believe one thing that was special about yesterday, despite the fact that Foles is out and Ryan is out now too on the defense side of the ball, those guys ran the ball. What you have to do, I feel like, in this offense is run the ball. In the NFL period, you have to be able to run the ball and be a threat because Foles isn't that mobile. So if you're going to have him sitting back there and the defense know you're getting ready to pass it, then that's trouble for him. But Sanchez came in, I feel as though he threw a pick. He threw 2 interceptions. One wasn't really his fault. But he held his own, he did his job. And when McCoy rushes for 19, when he rushes the ball 19 times or more, Eagles are 6-1. So there it goes right there.
But Sanchez threw 25 for 31 with 281 yards. I mean, for a backup quarterback to come in through 2 touchdown passes, that was just, unheard of. He was prepared and he was ready, and this is what you hope to see from your backup quarterback. Your quarterback gets hurt, and you want to put in someone that can be that quarterback, and I think that, he outplayed Nick Foles, and if Foles is able to come back this season, I think Chip Kelly is going to have a big decision to make. Does he put Foles back in or do you stick with Sanchez? Obviously, that is going to depend on what Sanchez does the next few games, stuff like that. I mean, it's 6 to 8 weeks. That could be the rest of the season. But Chip Kelly, if he has to make that decision, it's going to be a pretty big decision.
Chip Kelly even talked about, though, how happy and pleased he was about Sanchez's play. Sanchez, he used to be a starting quarterback, and now he's second string and everything, and so he's still preparing the way that a first-string quarterback does prepare. So he came in and he pleased not only his coach but his teammates, and now it's just, with Nick Foles, we've got an Aaron Rodgers situation on our hands. When is he going to come back and play, and if he even does?
So let's move on to the NBA, and let's start off with LeBron. King returning home, ready to play, tons of fans, huge game, and they lose. Obviously, the next night they were able to defeat the Bulls, but what are your thoughts on, coming home, this huge homecoming, everyone's excited, and they fell short? To me, it's a huge upset. Everyone expected him to shine, expected the team to be amazing, and they weren't able to do that. So where do you think they go from here? Obviously, the win against the Bulls was a big win, but what are your thoughts?
I mean, I feel like the Cavs ran into a team that just the night before had been blown out by the Bulls. So they came in there on a mission, and maybe Cleveland got caught up into the fact that LeBron was back and not into the fact that they had to play a basketball game. The Knicks were ready. They got blown out in their home opener. They're coming in there and trying to get a W. They don't care if LeBron's back. They don't care if Kevin Love's there. They got a new coach. They're not worried about that. They're trying to get wins. And I feel as though Cleveland was too focused on the thought of LeBron being there. And the fact that he was there, I don't think it sunk in until the next night when they beat the Bulls.
That's such a good point. It's like, did they lose focus? Were they just concentrating on him? Or did they lose focus of the game that they had in front of them?
Yeah, I definitely think that this is going to be LeBron's worst game of the season. I don't think he can get any worse than I think he was 5 for 15. But I think a lot of it was like communication. He had trouble. He had the ball and he was ready to pass to someone and they weren't there. They weren't in the spot that he was expecting them to be. And I think that's something that's just going to come with time, with playing with a new team again. So technically an old team. But yes, I think that's something that they need to work on is just, their passing and being open for shots and stuff like that.
But at the same time, you have to give the Knicks some credit. because they were sort of in a disarray, just as the Cavs were to start their season, because they're trying to work in the triangle and things like that. They came in, they played a good game, good enough to win. That's all that mattered. And they gave it to their closer down the stretch, and he took them home.
Okay, well, we'll be right back after these short messages.
Cook foods to the right temperature using a food thermometer. 3,000 Americans will die from food poisoning this year. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
That's low. That's low.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. Stop the texts. Stop the wrecks. Visit us at stoptextsstopwrecks.org.
Welcome back to Penn State Sports Night. Let's end our show tonight with our favorite over-unders. Who would like to start?
I'll go. You know, the Knicks implemented the triangle this year. I'm going to go, do you feel over or under 40.5 wins for the Knicks this season?
I'm going to go over. I think that they definitely will. They're starting off strong.
Yeah, over. I'm biased because I'm a Knicks fan, so.
I'm going to go over. I mean, that's half their season. I think that they can be over 500.
Penn State men's ice hockey, you know, you've got Scoff in goal, who's been playing unreal. Over under going 500 for the season.
I'm going to say under. I think that they are playing well, but they're still a pretty young team, and they have some pretty big competition coming up. So I'm going to say under 500 for them.
I agree. I'm going to say under.
I'm going to agree because Maddie took everything out of my mouth. So I'm just going to agree.
So my over-under is that the Giants win 7 games over-under.
I'm going to say under. I don't think that they've been playing that well this season, and I don't see them getting to that at all.
I'm going to have to say under for that too, you know, especially with Cruz gone. He's a key component, so I'm going to have to say under.
I'm going to say under too because I believe they have to play the Eagles and the Giants again, and it's pretty tough.
And finally for mine, over under Penn State winning 5.5 games, football games.
I'm going to have to go with under because I don't think these guys will be bowl eligible this year. They think they blew their chance.
They started off strong, but I'm going to have to go along and say under for this too.
Yeah, they have too many problems with the offensive line for the rest of the season with so many people being out, so I'm going to say under.
Okay, well, that wraps it up for this week's edition of Penn State Sports Night. From Chris Gamble, Meghan Caffrey, and Nicole Barros, I'm Madi Shutt. Thanks for tuning in.